All right, let's dive in. Today, we're taking a little walk through the deep, dark wood to talk about a true modern classic, the Gruffalo. We're going to look at how its amazing illustrations do so much more than just tell a story. They actually teach us how to be brave. So, let's get started.
First, just to give you an idea of how huge this book is, since it came out in 1999, the Gruffalo has sold over 13.5 million copies. That's just staggering. It's a global sensation, translated into more than 70 languages. Its success is absolutely undeniable.
So that leads to the big question, right? What is the secret sauce here? I mean, Julia Donaldson's rhyming is pure magic, no doubt about it. But the answer we're digging into today is all about the incredible and kind of deceptively simple illustrations by Axel Scheffler. They are the real engine driving the emotional heart of this story. So here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the book's basic magic. Then we'll journey into the woods to see how the setting is basically its own character. We'll meet our clever little hero, watch the Gruffalo get conjured up, see how he changes visually, and finally we'll talk about why this story is such a powerful tool for kids facing their own fears.
Okay, first up, the monster's magic. You know, the team-up between Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler gave us this brilliant, simple idea. A tiny, smart mouse takes a walk, and to keep from becoming lunch, he invents a terrifying monster. It's a survival story, plain and simple, and is powered completely by imagination.
Now, let's talk about where it all happens. We enter the deep, dark wood. And look, this isn't just a background, okay? It's a psychological landscape. It's where all the big ideas in the story really start to grow.
You know, the psychoanalyst Bruno Bettelheim pointed out that forests in fairy tales have always been this symbolic place where we go to face our inner demons and our hidden fears. Scheffler's art taps right into that deep, ancient idea, making the woods feel both mysterious and, yeah, a little bit dangerous.
And this is where you can see the genius at play. If you really look closely at Scheffler's forest, it's just packed with clues. See how these tree roots twist and turn into shapes that look a lot like claws? Or jaws? And check this out. You can even spot little cave drawings of the fox, the owl, and the snake. The forest is literally hinting at the monster to come, suggesting our mouse isn't just making things up. He's creatively using the world around him.
Which brings us to our hero. We meet this little mouse in the forest, but here's the thing, he is no victim. He is a classic trickster, one of those characters who uses their brain to survive and even control a world filled with much bigger, more powerful creatures.
Yeah, the trickster is this universal figure you see everywhere. Think of Loki from Norse myths or Anansi the spider from West African stories. They don't win with muscle, they win with their wits. And our mouse, he's a perfect, tiny addition to that long, clever tradition.
And Scheffler's art makes this contrast crystal clear. He almost always draws the mouse as small, often from the side, to really hammer home how physically vulnerable he is. But that visual weakness is perfectly balanced by his incredible mental strength. The big predators, they're just driven by their stomachs, so they're easily fooled. The art teaches you the lesson without a single word. Real power isn't about your size, it's about how smart you are.
And so, the trickster starts his work. This is where the story's tension just ramps up beautifully. We don't see the Gruffalo all at once. Nope. The mouse builds him, piece by piece, first in the minds of the predators, and of course, in our minds too.
It all starts with this rhythmic chant as the mouse plants the first little seed of fear. He has terrible tusks.
Then he adds another layer. That repetition of terrible is like a drumbeat, making the spell even stronger, and terrible claws.
And with that famous final line, the picture is complete. And terrible teeth in his terrible jaws. Before we've even laid eyes on the Gruffalo, the mouse has turned his own imagination into a weapon.
Okay, this moment right here is pure storytelling gold. Just as the mouse is telling himself, and us, that the Gruffalo isn't real, we turn the page. The word Gruffalo is literally broken by the page turn, transforming it into this sudden gasp of, oh! It's a visual shock that puts us right in the mouse's tiny shoes. We feel his surprise, his terror, right along with him. So, the monster's real. Now what? Well, what happens next is just a masterclass in visual storytelling. Scheffler's art starts to take apart the very monster it just built, showing us his emotional journey from a terrifying menace to a total buffoon.
Let's just break it down. Step 1. The Gruffalo is a true menace. He's all sharp claws and those big, staring orange eyes. But then, as the mouse's trick starts to work,
Watch his face. His pupils drop lower. He starts to look confused, almost goofy. And in the end, he literally puts a hand to his throat, which is a classic, subconscious sign of fear. Scheffler visually changes how we see him, page by page. He goes from monster to fool.
And all of this leads us to the story's real power, its deep psychological impact on kids. Why does a simple tale stick with us so much? Well, it's because it's a story about empowerment.
I think this quote from scholar Janelle Genstad just nails it. For a little kid, the world is full of Gruffalos. Bigger people, confusing rules, fears they don't even have a name for. And the mouse, he shows them that you don't have to be big and strong to be a hero. You have a tool you can use right now, your brain.
So, the biggest takeaway here is really twofold. First, wit is your best survival tool. But second, and this might be even more important, the mouse has to outsmart the very monster he created. It's a powerful lesson that we don't just have the power to invent our fears, we also have the power to tame them.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. The Gruffalo isn't just a great kid's book, it's practically a blueprint for courage. It reminds us that storytelling itself is a survival skill. So the real question becomes, how do the stories we tell ourselves and our kids help us face the monsters, both real and imaginary, in our own deep, dark woods?